Welcome to the book club, the 40k book club podcast. I'm Arbitarian. This is Mira Manga.
Hello, hiya.
Hello. We're getting quite good at this. It's like a routine. Like we know what we're going to say at the start of episodes now. This is very good, isn't it? We are here to talk about the second Gaunt's Ghost book,
GHOSTMAKER!
Maker of Ghosts.
Yeah, indeed.
And this a book that I believe tells you how the ghosts was made.
Yes, indeed.
That's what this plot is. Yeah. So look, we're this is the book club. You've heard it before. If you're here, maybe you haven't. Maybe you're a new viewer and a listener, and that's what we need to talk to you about. This is the book club podcast. We talk about Warhammer books, mostly Warhammer books. We're going to branch out soon into not 40k books, which is odd. And you can vote on them occasionally. We've accidentally got ourselves into doing the two biggest series in the Black Library.
Yeah, we did.
We're doing the Horus Heresy and Gaunt's Ghosts.
Very, very intense.
Very intense books.
Yeah.
A lot of books. But when we can find time in between those, you can join the Patreon, where you'll get early access to these. And also, occasionally the chance to vote on the next one. You're not looking forward to the next vote, are you, Mira?
I have to say, if you do decide to join the Patreon, please stop voting for Warhammer Horror.
Yeah,
Yay.
Warhammer Horror. We're doing Warhammer Horror next. Technically, there's still 2 days left for people to vote. But, yeah. I'm never much of a hot horror fan either, but I really wanted a vote that was full of female art writers in the Black Library, because we haven't yet got any on the show. Yeah. So I was like, right, well, who's got books? And then I put them all up and everyone was like, that book's amazing. So looks like we're doing it.
It's going to be good. It's going to be horrible.
Look, I think, right, how much more horror-ish can it be than what we already read when reading 40k books?
I know. I believe through your comment people that the worst 2 books in the whole Black Library are... Well, I don't know. The worst one is Night Lords. Yeah,
everyone says you should definitely read Night Lords. Don't believe them.
And the other one that's meant to be really bad is the Fulgrim in Horus Heresy. So
one after next, yeah.
If I can get through those, I'm sure I can get through
Fulgrim,
anything.
I'm just finishing off my reread of Fulgrim, and it's it goes places. It's also really long.
Is it?
It's really long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? Who wrote that one?
Graham McNeil.
Be brilliant.
That's your next interview with Graham McNeil. Yeah.
Graham McNeil.
Anyway, we're not talking about any of this now. We're talking about
GHOSTMAKER.
GHOSTMAKER with Dan ABNETT. So this is the second Gaunt. Yeah. So this is the second Gaunt's Ghost book, but it's kind of a compilation,
like a compendium of ghost adventures, and they have different. It's like the focus goes on different members, different planets, different situations.
And was this, because you spoke to Dan ABNETT on your channel, you interviewed him about all the first 3 ghost books.
Yeah.
Did he meant, because I think this might have originally been in like a serialized short story collection. Was it in Inferno?
Yeah, I think it's a collection of like short stories and then like drabbles and bits that he's put together over the years.
And it's sort of, again, like the last one, it's sort of, even though it's a lot of shorts and it's a load of different threads, it all ties up towards the end. Some of them come back to each other.
Yeah, I mean, Dan does the thing he does and like ties a pretty bow around it all. So yeah. I think Ian asked me nicely. I was going to say Ian made me read the first 3 books, and I think of the 3 I enjoyed this the most.
Dan made you. I didn't make you read these. It was all Dan's fault.
Dan asked if I would read Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yeah.
And I said to Ian, what is the first book? And Ian said, it's 3 books. And then I said to Dan, Ian said it's 3. And he went, yeah. Yeah,
it's because, right? Well, you know this because we're going to do Necropolis next. Necropolis is the first book. Like, you just read it. Like, we'll do that in the next episode. Let's talk about GHOSTMAKER. So, GHOSTMAKER. Where we are, so this is interesting because the first book, First and Only, which is a novel, right, is like a straight-through novel. It's very much about Gaunt.
Yeah.
Yeah? And I think this one is about the ghosts.
Yeah, so Gaunt gets his origin story in First and Only. You learn about his career, you learn about that he had a commissar who wanted to put him through the ranks, you learn about his dad dying and his uncle, all very Shakespearean. This focuses more on individuals. I have to say, it's not like you get like a real big sense of who they are, but they get their own, it's like they get their own action scenes.
All the sort of major main character ghosts get their little scene, don't
Yeah.
they? Yeah. So do you want, without any further ado then, before we start, on a detailed rundown of all the little short stories in this, completely without preparation, Mira, do you want to try and do an action movie plot summary of this book?
Okay. This is without preparation.
Without preparation.
In a world where your world has been blown up and you are forced to travel the galaxy as indentured war people, find a selection of mini adventures of toxic planets across the system.
Are you reading from the blurb on the back?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite hard to do an action movie one of like a load of little stories.
Loads of stories. Sorry, I'll shut up. I'm not in this bit.
I'd say I'm going to give it that for now. I'll do better on Acropolis,
Okay, fine.
maybe. But
Acropolis is a story. Yeah.
I remember speaking to Dan about this, and I think I described it as kind of very Ken Loach. It was very, not in a bad way.
No, I get it.
Like Ken Loach is a director and it's very kind of kitchen sink as you're doing your day to day. And it was like, just dropping in on various operations and things.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It goes into some of those places, but it's very much, a lot of these are like, we just did this weird little thing and then the Citadel fell, whoops. Or we just did this weird, I just need to shoot this guy. All I'm doing is I'm sitting in some mud, waiting to shoot a guy.
Yeah. I think imagine if you had like a little drone and it was meant to do a documentary of like a platoon and it just was like floating around. It's quite clever the way it's been done.
Yeah. And I think it's nicely, it reminded me a bit, rereading it reminded me a bit of when we did the Majos, which is also a load of short stories where Dan's then added a few extra bits and sort of tied it up so that it works as a novel quite well.
Yeah. I think by the end of this, it does feel like it feels like the ghosts are ghosts. They're a team.
Yeah. So let's go through, because there's quite a lot of short stories in this, and some of them are little, as you say, like character studies, and some of them are big events in the ghosts' history. So we start with Ghostmaker, the titular Ghostmaker.
Yeah.
Which it's the actual origin story of the ghosts.
Yeah.
I was about to say the origin story of the goats. Different thing. Different thing.
Much more fun.
Much more fun. I think there's space in 40k for Gaunt's Goats. The story of a disgraced commissar colonel who leads a band of beastmen who no one likes, and they all think they're smelly savages and try to bomb them in oblivion because they're from posh regiments. I think that's it. Next one, Gaunt's Goats, please.
Bad.
Oh, yes.
I love an origin story.
Yeah.
So really, really love this. It's basically them all talking about who's this Gaunt, what's he supposed to be up to, and then the realization that they're all gonna
die.
Well, that's in every book. We have the realization
they're all gonna die.
They're all gonna die, but they realize that they are losing their home planet.
Yeah,
and they've been saved, but. Yeah, so it's
basically the story they allude to in the previous book, right? So Gaunt is assigned this planet. He goes down, he sees Tanith for the first time. He's a bit like, who are these bumbling yokels? Yeah. I think there's a bit of like, in the wider story, he's been given the rank by Slado, so he's been given the rank to command a regiment, but then Slado died, so he's now, and he doesn't know the new War Master Makaroth, so he's been given this regiment of randoms from this forest planet. The forest planet have never raised a regiment before. No. Now they've raised 3, Tanith first, second and third. He goes down, he gets assigned a personal bagpiper. Yay! Brian Milo.
My favourite. What a great name.
Brian Milo.
Bryn Milo.
Who's from Wales, apparently.
Bryn Milo. That's great accent.
Thanks. I'm going to do the whole of the rest of the... This is how we do all the goals. Oh, God, I've lost it. All right, fine. Bryn Milo is going to play the bagpipes at him. He has to hide behind a curtain and all this sort of shit. And then Chaos come and attack, and he's like, oh, thankfully, I'm so efficient and I hate this planet so much that I've already told them to get into their ships. Yeah. And 2 of the ships get blown up. So they just fold everyone back in. They fold everyone they can, including Brian Milo, who isn't actually in the army.
No, well,
he's just a piper kid.
The reason they take Milo on, and this is very important later, is Milo senses that all is not well.
Yeah, because he's magic.
He's magic Milo.
Magic Milo.
And they make sure that, all the Gaunts are safe, and then all the ghosts are safe, and then Gaunt's like, come on, we've got to save him. Yeah. So that's a kind of foundling, brought in. And one of the things...
Snotty teenage foundling.
He's not snotty.
He's
He's
not
nice.
that
Milo's
snotty.
nice. Gosh, don't derail me on Milo. He's my favourite.
Magic Milo.
Magic Milo. Endor planet, where you would not think to raise an Imperial army.
Endor planet, yeah.
Ewoks.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, like at the beginning of Superman, you know, Spider-Man's flung out of space in a meteor.
Yeah.
No, not Spider-Man. Did I say Spider-Man?
Yeah, you said Spider-Man.
Superman.
At the beginning of Superman is flooded out. Yeah, right. Superman is flung out from Krypton. Yeah.
And so is Supergirl, incidentally. And in the meantime, Krypton explodes.
Right.
So that first story is as if you were aware and you and your troops were watching your Krypton explode. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite weighty start to the book, but it feels like good and you like understand.
Got it there, and you understand who these people are. I like the bit where the unknown random troopers, Corbeck and Rawn, end up being Colonel and Major.
Yeah.
Because they were just random people.
They just happen to be. They're probably the biggest.
Yeah, just the most characterful.
Yeah.
The two most different.
I'm going to tell you something very ironic about Tanith as well. So in this book, we go through so many different landscapes, planets.
Yeah.
And then my favourite one is Tanith.
Oh.
It's not ironic.
And we see it later. In the mine.
But it's very, very bucolic, wooded, you know, like you say, you know, Gaunt's like, oh, you know, this is loads of farmers.
Woodcutters and yokels,
like hobbits.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we do that. So that's basically our origin story for this book. Start of the book, that's what happens. Brilliant. So then we know, because we've read First and Only, that they then go into a load of wars and they're going to podgle around the galaxy, go into lots of wars, right?
Yeah.
The first war we go to is on Voltaman. So the next short story is called A Blooding. This is where we're going to get some bad guys. So in A Blooding, briefly, the Tanith split into two for a stealth operation. They succeed in their stealth operation. They're wildly successful and better than everyone else. As they're coming back, Notches Sturm, Colonel Sturm of the Royal Valponia Blue Bloods, who, if you hadn't guessed by that name, are cunts.
Ian!
I don't know. Is that not what we called?
I know, but we're going to try and like.
We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do it.
And dicks. So they have replaced the Janting patricians.
Here's a sample.
Okay.
At his desk, General Notches Sturm put down his pen and sat back. "Oh, please help yourself to my brandy, Gilbert," he muttered, though the sarcasm was lost on his massive aide. I mean, do you know what I mean?
It's just that, He's
one of those.
Look, we've got rid of Dersius and the Janteen patricians, so we've replaced them with the, I think, much better Sturm and the Volponia Blue Bloods. And essentially what happens is Sturm goes, "Yep, brilliant. The objective is secure. Tell that artillery regiment, the Kezok, to level the site while half the ghosts are coming back."
So stressful.
So a load of people die. Gaunt goes up to the Kezok commander when he gets back to the lines and punches him in the face, which Sturm uses as an excuse to try and bring him to a court-martial.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's all going to go very badly until the commander of the Kezok realises what's happened, drives his artillery tank into the command centre and goes, "I fell. I don't know what you're talking about. No one punched anybody."
Which is, let's face it, if you or I had a Kezov tank, we would be down the shops,
driving it around everywhere with a massive basilisk. So that's what happens. Basically, the reason for this is to show there is an ancillary reason to this, right? It's important that lots of ghosts die. No, it is, because otherwise Necropolis ain't going to make much sense. But it's important that ghosts die. But it sets up a new bad guy who's going to pop up a few times in the rest of this season.
It's important a lot of the ghosts die because a lot of the book is about showing the corruption between the higher-ups and the troops on the ground.
Yeah.
So that is a recurring ribbon that goes through the whole book. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's important loads of ghosts are killed?
Because they have to get winnowed down a bit, so they need reinforcements by the next book.
That's so cynical.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So then we move on. So then we start a series of, we can go through these quickly, I think. There's a series of like one character stories. Yeah. Like little character studies that just tell you.
Focuses in on each of the ghosts. They get their spotlight.
And your first one is Sound and Fury, which is on Ramillies. And it's the Sergeant McColl story. And this is where we establish that Sergeant McColl's a badass.
Yeah, he is. And you basically compared him to Rambo.
He's kind of like the skills of Rambo in a small, wiry, quiet older man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we like.
Which is a really nice combination. He's like very quietly confident, very, understated. And he's also like the most skilled person in the unit.
Yeah.
He's like he's sergeant of the scout division. And he's like the most respected ghost by all the other ghosts.
Yeah. But quite right too, because he manages to escape an out of control dreadnought.
Yeah.
And a poisonous cactus.
Poisonous cactus that pokes spines at you if you make a noise.
And he's leading someone who's been blinded.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just epic. This is one of my favourite stories in here, even though it's a little bit gross. And we will talk about this, but an example of the environment that Dan writes, even the environment in 40k, even vegetables are the enemy. They're bastards. So, yeah.
Even vegetables are the enemy.
Even vegetables. That's going to be new swag. I'm going to make
even
a t-shirt.
Vegetables are the enemy. I've been looking for ideas for t-shirts. Even vegetables are the enemy. Are you going to do that? Oh, no, you're going to do the vegetables one. No, you said it. You said it.
I've got the galaxy one.
What's the galaxy
Clean
one?
up on Isle Galaxy. You can do the vegetable one.
The vegetables. Even vegetables are the enemy. Right. We move on. So the next one, the Hollows of Hell. A combat drop on Caligula. A few of these are on Caligula. Goes wrong.
Note to self, if you find yourself in a Warhammer army, just say no to a combat drop. Say you'll take a shuttle.
I'm not going to a planet called Caligula. Yeah.
Yes, Caligula was a horrible old emperor.
Yeah, true.
Okay, a Roman emperor.
So Gaunt and Rawn are separated. So Korvac, basically, Gaunt and Rawn are separated from the unit, which is going to happen a lot. And Korvac actually has to like be the leader.
Yeah.
And he discovers some hideous chaos and then phones a mate in the fleet to orbital bombard it, thus solving the problem.
Don't we all need a friend who can orbitally bombard?
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would orbitally bombard for you, Ian.
Thanks. Don't know what that means.
No, me either. Yeah.
So basically, yeah, Korvac has it's Korvac's chance to actually be the leader. But I wonder if because on all the stories so far, he's technically the colonel, but actually Gaunt's in charge.
Yeah.
And Rawn's definitely the foil to that. So
yeah.
Anyway, Korvac gets to do something.
And I think it's kind of building these characters. So I mean, this is very new Korvac, right? So we're now seeing Korvac is going to become charismatic.
Yeah.
He's going to kind of step into this part of being an officer. There's lots of fun wartime kind of expo and stuff. There's all this comm talk which really gets you in there.
Yeah.
Firefight came Rawn's response, Milo picking it up via his own comm bead. We're pinned. Throne of Earth, there's the link went dead. I mean, it's brilliant. But there's a bit where it goes, damn, Gaunt hissed. He clambered to his feet. Merrin, Bragg, guard the wounded. You, Navy boy, stay with them. The rest with me. Fire team spread.
Merrin, I forgot about Merrin.
Ian's just explained what the Navy, the whole...
Yeah.
I did not know that there's no chance the Ghosts will ever get their own spaceship.
No, because the Imperial Guard and the Navy are separate in Warhammer 40k.
Because of Erebus and Horus.
Yeah, basically because of the Horus heresy, you had all these fleets which were combined arms. You had under one person, you had the control of the fleet, the army, the space marines, everything. And what that meant is when the leader turned traitor, everyone turned traitor. So in 40k, they split up the Navy and the Guard. So the Guard can't get anywhere without the Navy, and the Navy can't assault a planet without the Guard. So no one's in overall command.
Yeah.
And then even the Guard regiments are split down by specialisation. So if a regimental leader, if someone like Gaunt turned against, then he'd only have some stealth people. He wouldn't have any tanks or artillery or planes or anything.
But what we did learn is that if there is a choice, we need to go Navy because they have got the planet soup plague.
They've got
bombs.
the planet soup plague bombs, yeah.
So we're going to be Navy.
Yeah, that's what you want to go for.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the Hollows of Hell. We move on to the Angel of Bucephalon. Larkin's one, basically. So we meet Clayne Larkin, who's the master sniper.
Yeah.
He's another.
They call him Mad Larkin.
Mad Larkin, yeah, because he's Murdoch.
Yeah, that's it. I'm kind of relating these to
18
characters. And I believe he is very much Murdoch. But you said he's not as
humorous. Yeah, he's not as wildly humorously zany as Murdoch,
it's
right?
Mad, a little bit touched maybe by the warp madness and a bit more sinister.
And he's he's a slightly nervous older guy. Yeah.
I relate.
So he just very briefly, he has to shoot a guy, but there's all chaos stuff and he's not sure if he's having hallucinations because he's Mad Larkin or because of chaos stuff. And eventually he manages to shoot the guy who is called Knockad the Smiling, which I quite like as a good name for a chaos bad guy.
Yeah, and I think that's a great name. Say it again.
Knockad
the Smiling.
the Smiling.
Oh, that's really sinister the way you said that.
Knockad the Smiling.
I wanted to spot a massive sci-fi trope. So Larkin's discovering how he's so good, and he's talking about one of the guns. So he's got a gun with a red glow, so we know nighttime stuff. Night Spotter, my own. I tooled the bracket to fit. I used to spot for Laricel in the woods back home.
Oh, Laricel's like some sort of like bunny animal or something.
Small rodents with a fine pelt made a good income hunting them before the founding. It's like Womp Rats.
Womp Rats.
You know?
Exactly.
But you must have that. So, that trope is included in Ghostmaker.
Got to have some Womp Rats.
Yeah.
We move on
to
That Hideous Strength, which is Bragg's one. Everyone loves Bragg.
Yes, and
carries autocannons.
Bragg is Mr. T.
Bragg is Mr. T, but like less angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mind going on a plane.
No, it's a fair point. So this is
drink the milk.
It's a bit of a disservice to Bragg, this one, right? So the idea is Bragg gets put in charge of a convoy, and everyone's like, why are you putting Bragg in charge of a convoy? Yeah. And Gaunt's like, trust me, but they know that someone in the regiment is an infiltrator and is going to tell the enemy.
We don't know at the beginning of the story.
We don't know this. We find this out.
It's a cunning plan.
And what happens is Bragg's there because then the guy will be like, haha, this idiot's in charge, we'll definitely attack it. But actually, they've already planned for a load of planes to go over and blow up whoever attacks them.
Yeah, it's very intricate.
It's very intricate. And Bragg, it doesn't sound like it should work.
No, I mean, I think what does work is, so Bragg has to drive this caravan round and round, and there's a betrayer with him. And you see his affable, calm, steady nature. So that's quite a nice moment. You know, he's kind of unflappable, even though you're really tense and like, oh no, you don't want Bragg to be exploded or anything. But yeah.
So that's how we meet Bragg. So these are all pretty small. Then we get to Permafrost. Bit different. So Permafrost, Gaunt and Rawn.
So wait, I'm going to interrupt Ian. All I'll say is, if in any sci-fi event you are trapped on an ice planet with your enemy, you're going to end up getting married or falling in love.
Yeah, and this is the start of the burgeoning romance between Gaunt and Rawn.
Yes.
That bubbles throughout the rest of this book. They're on Typhon 8. They get separated in some ice, in an ice cave, and wounded, and they don't kill each other.
There are orcs on the ice.
There are orcs on the ice?
Yeah. The orc faced him. It's back to the cave mouth, a huge crude bolt pistol in his ichor-splattered fist. So Rawn gets beaten up basically by an orc, gets a massive wound on his thigh. Gaunt has to heal him. Gaunt moved over, pulling his own medi pouch open. His clips were frozen too, but he warmed them over the chemical flame and then pinched the lips of Rawn's thigh wound shut. He sprayed the area. Rawn felt his limb go numb. Basically,
That's just porn.
It gets worse. Gaunt warmed his numb fingers. He handed Rawn his dagger, bite the hilt. So Gaunt stitches up his leg. Gaunt bit off the cord and tied it, wrapping a dressing over the wound. Bearing in mind the wound is on the thigh.
And that they all have very large daggers they constantly refer to.
Bayonets, knives,
straight silver.
Stanley knives.
Yeah, all of this stuff.
So I did Google Rawn and Gaunt, and we'll never ever do it again.
Was there fan fiction?
I mean, that is the stuff of, I don't know, what's his name, Slanesh?
It's the stuff of Slanesh.
It was very, very hardcore, and Dan and I had a good old chuckle about that. I mean, I would actually love to read if Dan wrote a romance between ghosts, but I don't like reading fanfic about ghosts.
Well. Anyway, so the point of this is that Rawn doesn't get saved by Gaunt.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because Rawn really doesn't like Gaunt.
Yeah. And they also do some very cool, crazy taking over of an orc ice bike and driving it. But is it going to become this kind of thing where Gaunt nearly gets killed and Rawn thinks, I better save him? And I think it is. And there's nothing like grudging respect being saved by your enemy and having to kind of think,
Well, yeah, so there we are. That's our character development of Rawn, I think. Yeah. So then we go on a bit more. We got Blood Oath, which is the Dorden one. This is quite a quick one, quite a simple one. He's in a hospital. There's wounded people. Someone's like, evacuate the hospital. The enemy coming. And Dorden's like, I am the doctor in this series, therefore I can never do that. And he surprisingly decides to stay there and fix them, even though some of the wounded are Royal Volpone Blue Bloods. Boo.
I think this is very gripping.
I was starting with like boos and it went really ghostly there for a second. They're not spooky, they're just dicks.
I hate it when I'm trying to be serious, but I want to have fun with you. Yeah, it's a really gripping thing because they're basically in this completely unprotected little hospital overnight, and you think, are they going to last till morning? And they manage to, mostly by faking the enemy out and basically being Kevin McAllister in Home Alone and shooting from all over the place, so the enemy think that there is way more of them in there.
And they get the Royal Volpone all join in. We then get to, very similarly, a simple plan, which is Cathran's one.
Yeah.
So Cathran gets dumped in the sea by mistake.
Ugh. And don't you hate when that happens?
Awful. They're on Sapientia. They get dumped in the sea by mistake. And they come across a fortress of the enemy. They are the cult of the week this week is the Kith.
Cult of the week.
And they're led by the also fantastically named Sholan Skara. Yep. Yeah. And what happens is they're on the run, basically, because there's not many of them. And they're separated from all their pals. And they manage to collapse a tower, which makes the Kith think that they're under a main full-scale attack. And the Kith reckon Sholan Skara was in the tower. So they immediately run away. They're immediately like throwing themselves in the battlements and in a panic. And it's only Cathran being like, oh, no, we don't know what we're doing. It's like Carry On Gaunt's Ghost.
It's a little bit Kane, isn't it?
It's a little, yeah.
Which we're not mad about.
It's all right. They capture Skara at the end, and there's a nice little bit where Commissar Gaunt's like, right, so I'll shoot him then, shall I? Do you want to shoot him, Cathran? And Cathran's like, nah, let him live, because he's so evil, he'll not like it. Which but yeah, so they take him away in chains, presumably to get mind interrogated by the Inquisition or something.
Yeah. I think there's more to Cathran than meets the eye.
Yeah, there is.
We're going to talk about the ghost later, so we'll carry on. We'll just get to them. Yeah, Cathran gets interesting. We then get to Witch Hunt, second to last one. So we're en route to a place called Monthax. We're on a ship, and they've put the Gaunts on the ship with the Royal Volpone. Oh, no. Stop doing that.
The only other regiment.
That's why I want them to have their own ship, because it's not fair.
So evidently, like, there's a guy called Val. We've seen Val before. We meet Val properly. Val's a bit of a joker. So him and Magic Milo, Brian Milo, get into a game of cards with the Volpone, and they fleece them, basically. They treat them, and it's to do with Milo, like, ooh, he's a bit spooky.
Milo's
it's all
magic.
This, yeah? And Val is like a bit of a con man anyway, so that happens. And the Volpone aren't happy, and it goes all the way to the top. And so Sturm, who is the colonel in charge of the Volpone, and Major Gilbert, who's like the next in command, hear about it, and they decide they're going to tell Inquisitor Lilith.
Ooh.
Yeah. About the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Inquisitor Lilith, who is a space wizard, decides she's going to interrogate Brian Milo.
Yeah. Basically, the story's called Witch Hunt, and that's what they do. They're trying to hunt out and prove that Milo's a psyker.
And of course, we find out once and for all that Milo isn't magic.
He is magic.
Inquisitor Lilith, who is magic, is like, you're not magic.
But I think he is.
He's not magic. Milo's like, nah, it was just a trick. I'll show you how I did the trick.
Yeah.
Not magic. Definitely not magic.
Which I've said to Ian, if an Inquisitor ever comes after me, I would just immediately show them the magic trick.
But even if you were magic, well, there's the question.
Yeah.
So we know by this point, 100% Brian Milo not magic.
He is. He is. We'll move on.
So then we get to the final one.
We should say Lilith.
We've seen Lilith before. Yeah. So Lilith is the same Lilith from Ravenna, which was, I think, a couple of hundred years before this.
Yes.
And she's a powerful space wizard. And what was she in First and Only briefly?
No, I think it was a different Inquisitor.
Okay, fine.
But yeah, the great thing about Lilith is she discovers these Eldar and goes off to help them.
That's the next episode. One. Yeah, so they arrive at Monthax. Sorry, yeah. So the last one is Some Dark and Secret Purpose. They arrive at Monthax, right? So they're in this spooky jungle fight. Yeah. And everyone's a bit confused because the Chaos people, they're not doing what they should be doing. They're all being weird.
Yeah.
And then the Tanith starts having, all the Tanith are having these weird hallucinations and thinking they're on Tanith, which is weird. And everything's just a bit weird.
Yeah. But it's lovely because we get to see a bit of Tanith, which we never
through
saw
their
before,
eyes.
through their eyes.
Tanith Magna Civitas.
Through their mind. And it's a really nice like slice of home. Like, yeah.
Turns out it's a bloody elf doing elf bullshit.
Ian hates elves.
Elves. So there's an elf called Eon Cull, who is a warlock from a craft world I've never heard of. And what he's been trying to do, he's been trying to close the webway portal on Monthax. There's a webway portal there because Chaos look like they're invading it and no one wants Chaos in your webway.
No.
So he's trying to do that. And then the Chaos turned up and then he decided to spend his mind energy making a storm to stop them and confuse them all.
Yeah.
But now he hasn't got enough psychic juice left to close the webway gate.
So he has to draw all the Tanith in, which is a really great.
So the Tanith think they're defending Tanith Magna Civitas.
Yeah.
And the Royal Valponia are there, and they think they're fighting some glorious battle they fought in, and they're both actually defending the temple.
And I was saying to Ian, this is such a brilliant Dan Abnett way of weaving in like all those little stories, because we're coming to the close of the book. So a nice way to kind of put those little plot points in and refresh, as well as having a Xenos.
An actual Xenos.
And an Inquisitor. This is Dan Abnett's wheelhouse, like big, bold endings with loads of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. So that's what happens. Like there's a massive fight. Gaunt persuades Inquisitor Lilith to help out, and she's got enough psychic juice to close the webway, and then she goes off with them to Elfland, the West, the Grey Havens.
To hang out with Eldars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what she does. And then there's a load of little conclusions at the end of it where they're like, and then we were truly the ghosts.
Yeah. Shall I read the
ending? Do you want to read the ending? There's also a really nice bit where you find that, where they say that the ghosts actually had to fight through 100,000 Chaos soldiers to get there, which is so impossible that when the records are written, they're like, yeah, no, delete that. That's obviously didn't happen.
That was expunged from the official Imperial records. So this is a really beautiful chat between Milo and Gaunt. And Milo's cleaning his las gun and he looks at Gaunt and says, just a mind trick maybe, but for a few hours there, 40 or so of us got to fight for Tanith, got to fight for our world, got the chance to do what we'd always been cheated out of. It felt good. Even now I know it was a lie. It still feels good. It exorcised a few ghosts.
Ghosts. Do you get it? Because ghosts.
Gaunt smiled.
It's because of ghosts.
The voice pun was awful, but he was right. The ghosts of Tanith had laid their own ghosts to rest here. They would be stronger for it. And so would he realised. They were his ghosts after all. Gaunt's ghosts.
So would he, they realised. They were his ghosts after all. Gaunt's ghosts.
We've done a lot of accents today.
Yeah. Not stopping there. So truly ghost, the ghost.
Ghosting.
Ghost. Now ghosts, they are ghosts.
Poddling around,
being a ghost. Yeah, so that's Ghostmaker. That's what happened. And yeah, I think we said this before, like the first book felt very much like we were meeting Gaunt.
Yeah.
This is where we meet the ghosts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. This is actually my favourite of the three.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think so. There's loads of bits that I love in it.
So the ghosts then.
The ghosts.
You have three favourite ghosts.
I do.
Let us try and guess who the favourite ghosts are. Okay.
Yeah.
I've written them all down.
Yeah.
Because this is basically this is what is like the core team of ghosts, the core little ensemble cast of season 1.
These are all going to last a long time and none of them are going to die.
None of them are going to die. Right.
Good.
So Corbeck.
I mean...
Colm Corbeck.
I mean, I see him as a bit of an Aragorn. I know.
Okay, I think of him as a bit more of a like Jason Momoa scale human, like shaggy beard and hair, big guy. But not like muscly Hawaiian.
If he's Jason Momoa, how big is Bragg then in your?
Oh, good, fair point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I see him as a bit of like, steadfast, trustworthy. He is the kind of like barometer of how the ghosts are feeling about Gaunt, because he kind of quickly comes to respect Gaunt, but that can be wavered.
Yeah.
But he's very charismatic. I've got no problem with him.
Yeah, Corback.
Corback.
Can't dislike Corback. That's the point of Corback.
If I had to choose like a Mira honour guard, he would be one of them.
Okay, all right, brilliant.
Yeah.
He's in your honour guard. So the next one we have is Rawn.
Oh,
Rawn.
why?
So Rawn is like slicked back black hair. In my head, permanently has something sticking out, like a cigarette or a stick or something sticking out his mouth. He's like bad guy. He's the classic. He was like some sort of like dodgy criminal person before.
The thing is, he's not like a fun bad guy
No,
like
he's a
Tom
complete
Hiddleston
dick.
being Loki.
Yeah.
He's like a saboteur, dangerous, and it's really suspenseful. You don't know when he's going to pop up and do something horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone's like, someone's going to die. I don't mind if Ron dies because it's so stressful. But at the same time, if Dan was to write a romance with him and Gaunt, I would be happy for that.
Rawn's a very good character.
He is. He's got a lot of feelings and you can understand it. I think it's just the problem is we all have someone like a Rawn in our lives who's just always angry. I just saved your life. Yeah, but I didn't want to be saved wearing this outfit.
Yeah.
You know.
He's also like he has his own little gang of like flunkies.
Yeah.
Which are like the problem regiment, platoon.
And
it's like a bit Mean Girls.
And he's vicious.
Yeah.
Like violently vicious, which is also, you know, I don't mind like a schemer, but when they're so mercenary and like tough, it's scary.
So then we get the opposite of Rawn, which is Larkin.
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 Yeah.
So it's Elam Rawn, Clayne Larkin.
Yeah.
Larkin is, wiry old guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any problem with Larkin.
Okay, fine. Larkin, not in your top three, though.
No, not in my top 3.
Not in your top 3. Okay, fine. Larkin, but a good character, I think. Also someone who... Larkin, I'm always like, why did you join the army? You do not like stressful situations.
But did they join or are they conscripted?
No, I think in this, the implication is they all joined up for this.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was like a poacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get Try Again Bragg.
Yeah.
Don't know what his first name is.
Not Brian.
Not Brian Bragg, no. Try Again.
Try Again.
So Bragg. So Bragg's like big guy, jolly, bruise sacra.
I think Bragg is great and you never want anything bad to happen to him because he's just like, you know, a bit dumb, but like does the job.
Yeah.
Loyal.
Yeah. Never want anything bad to happen to Bragg.
I don't like it when you
say
so.
He carries a whole autocannon on his own.
He's super strong.
Super strong.
So he would be Jason Momoa or bigger.
Yeah, except there's another guy who's like a great big heavy weapons guy I don't know if he's come into it yet.
He might be in Acropolis.
Yeah, maybe he's in Acropolis. He really likes burning things.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, different person. So Bragg not in your top 3 though?
No.
Oh, I've only actually got 3 people left on the list. But that's because I've forgotten McCall.
Oh.
Yeah, McCall, best character.
McCall's very, very capable and cool. And I think if I had like a personal problem or something I was worried about, I'd go and find McCall.
Oh, yeah. I think McCall would give good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he might be the zaddy. No, I'm not sure. Maybe Corback is the zaddy of the group.
What's a zaddy?
A zaddy is a next level daddy.
Right.
You could be a zaddy, Ian.
Why? Just why?
Just everyone needs a zaddy.
Right.
But yeah, I think McCall, you know, completely capable. Also terrifying.
Yeah. But in like very, I know, very quiet, very soft. I think people like McCall.
Dad, I've broken my go-kart.
Yeah.
He comes with a screwdriver.
And then kills 50 cultists.
Machete.
Yeah.
Get these cultists off my...
You don't know who's there, just pops up behind you, completely silent. Screwdriver, kills 13 Chaos Dreadnoughts with it.
See, here's your pocket money.
Yeah.
See you later. Don't spend it all at once.
That's exactly how McCall works. Kathran. So Kathran's good. Kathran's interesting, right? Because Kathran's a foil to Milo.
Yes.
So Kathran's like joined up. He's young.
Yeah.
He's just a trooper. He's a year or 2 older than Milo.
Yeah. So we were saying, my feeling on Kathran is like where you have like a Robin Hood dynamic and you're young enough that you can choose whether you're going to hang out with Robin Hood, Kevin Costner, or Michael Prayard, as your predilection goes. Right. Or you can hang out with Will Scarlet, who is Christian Slater. Oh, I can't remember who it was.
And Rawn, for the purposes of this analogy.
Yeah. And so we have like, Kathran is on the cusp. He has some really nice thoughts about Gaunt. Kathran often thought about Gaunt. He rolled the name in his mind, a name he would never dare voice aloud. The Colonel, the Commissar, a strange man, and Kathran's feelings for him were strange too. He was the best, most caring, most charismatic leader Catherine could imagine. Catherine had seen time and time again the way Gaunt looked after the ghosts.
Aww.
Catherine had also seen enough of other regiments and their commanders and politicos to know how rare a thing it was.
They're all massively posh arseholes.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Many, like beloved Colonel Corbeck, see?
Yeah,
everyone loves
beloved.
Corbeck, regarded Gaunt as a saviour, a friend, a brother, and Catherine could not deny he admired Gaunt and would follow him to the ends of any earth.
Oh.
So you see that attachment growing, and that youth, I think, is quite appealing.
I think there is a bit in it where Catherine might get close to falling in with the Rawn section of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I don't think it actually goes anywhere. Next up, Catherine. Is Catherine in your 3?
No.
Ah, right. Next up, Dorden then.
Yay.
Okay, Dorden is there.
Dorden. His story is
Tolan
very
Dorden.
sweet.
He's got a son in the regiment called Michael Dorden.
Not Michael Dawn from...
Or Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tolan Dorden, he's your standard, I cannot leave this injured being at ever, and
Yes.
I'll do whatever I want, and I'll pull rank over you because I'm the doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor. That's what he is.
Absolutely. And that is a really important trope.
He's also really old. He's like we've got McColl and Larkin are both probably in their 50s.
Yeah.
But Dorden appears to be in his 60s, mid to late 60s,
Yeah.
which is quite, for signing up for being a soldier, is quite a...
Well,
advanced age.
if you remember MASH, probably none of you remember MASH, but there's a colonel in it.
You're too young to remember
Oh, yeah,
MASH,
I'm too young
right?
to remember
Yeah.
MASH. Don't adjust that monitor. So he is kind of elderly, older, very much caretaking. I think in this book he kind of remembers his wife and what his old house looked like. And this trope is so important, not just sci-fi, fantasy, cowboy. The doctor will have taken the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah,
They're going to save the lives.
Weirdly still exists in 40k.
Yeah. And I really love him. And, I think this is cheating a bit, but in Acropolis, he's also really pivotal in being one of the best guys. So, yeah.
Cool.
Is he not one of your favourites?
I find him a bit no, he's not.
Okay.
He's a bit generic doctor for me.
We haven't said your favourites yet.
That's because we haven't reached the end of this list.
Okay, go
Bryn Milo.
Yay! He's my
number 2 in your
favourite.
honour guard
Because-
of an old doctor, the one guy who can't fight. And it's going really well here.
Because he's magic.
He's Magic Milo.
And he is...
Definitely magic.
I really like, those people who are kind of thrown into the pot. He's really trying hard. He does his best. He saves people a few times with his magic. And you just want the best for Milo. And he is the mascot of the... Quite often, there'll be a dissolution of tension because Milo's there.
Yeah.
And he has his pipes. Can you imagine Gaunt's ghost without a Milo?
Can you imagine Gaunt's Ghost being a stealth unit without the sound of bagpipes?
But I love
The stealth unit Gaunt's Ghost and their bagpipes.
Listen, what are you going to do the day you turn up and you want to celebrate, the triumph over chaos and there are no bagpipes?
There are no bagpipes to
You're not
do
gonna
that.
be happy,
Terrible.
Ian.
Terrible. And then that's 2. I've run out of people. There's no more ghosts.
No, so my number 3, my favourite, is Gaunt.
Oh, because he is the ghost
Yay.
now. He's the ghostiest of ghosts.
He's the ghostiest, but he's such a good guy and he hasn't had that fun alive. Okay, he's privileged and he's an officer, but he has dealt with some scrapes and lost his dad. And he's just always so good in the face of complete and utter bastardry.
Gaunt or Kane?
I would like them to be friends and hang out, but they wouldn't.
Not
I
Gaunt.
prefer Gaunt to Kane.
I think we said this last time. Kane is in many ways a piss take of Gaunt.
Yeah.
Or a wry look at
Yeah.
the sort of person Gaunt
But
is.
if you, me, and Kane went out drinking,
Yeah.
property was damaged.
Yeah, and we would get in trouble for it and he'd
He'd
scarper.
be out the window.
Yeah,
He'd be out
whereas
the
Gaunt-
toilet window.
Yeah.
Gaunt would be like, I'm sorry.
It's all my fault.
It's my fault. I ordered the wrong tequila. I don't drink actually, so I wouldn't do anything wrong. Just saying. But Gaunt would step in. He'd take the he'd either take all the blame
Or he'd fairly
apportion the blame. And that's
Whereas
what I wanted.
Kane would just fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a friend, I just
Well,
want
he'd
someone-
either fuck off, or if it was really bad, he'd suddenly become a hero because he felt he had no other way out and you'd all be saved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I think what we've learned is that in friendship, I just want someone that will fairly apportion the blame.
fairly apportioning of blame.
Yeah. And the bill at the end of the evening.
Hey. So, other things that happen in this book. So, one of the things you get is a bit of a sense of the scope of this. They're fighting the Sabbat Worlds Crusade, which is a whole sector-wide crusade. There's tons of systems. There's potentially loads of other armies. There's millions of people, thousands of regiments involved in this.
Yeah.
It goes way higher than Sturm
Yeah.
or anything like that. And you see a lot of these planets, right? They land on jungle planet and desert planet and ice planet, and you see all these planets have different sorts of chaos guys on them.
I mean, Ian, you know, I love
You love the Gazetteer.
I love being a space tourist. It's the National Geographic of 40k. But you know, Dan's writing where he will take the environment and match the danger. So in the jungle planet, you've got, you know, the poisonous spikes, you know, and then you need to use like so if you're on an ice planet. There might be a random orc coming to kill you on the ice planet, but he'll make sure that the vehicle is ice appropriate. And the desert, and he just really builds out these locations. Some of them are only like 5 pages long.
Yeah, some of them are really short.
But the locations are really realised, and that's why I love Ghostmaker. I love seeing the expanse of the universe.
This has been your favourite one of the first 3?
Yeah, it's been my favourite one. Because you get so many different flavours, and you get some Eldar.
You get some new arseholes.
Yes.
I think the Royal Valponia are much better figured out than the Jantine. Because first, there's not the family connection there, which makes them feel a bit more believable. But also, the big difference is the Royal Valponia are repeatedly very, very good at what they do.
Yes.
Like they're not like a load of sycophants. They are an extremely capable, very heavy assault unit.
Yeah.
So they're the opposite of the Ghosts already.
I know they're already called an assault unit, but they are killing machines.
Yeah.
They are deathly efficient.
And they're
scary.
sort of almost described, for 40k people, they're almost described like Kazakin or like Stormtroopers or something. They're like really, really tough.
Do you think they've got a bit of an Emperor's Children vibe?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yeah, they do have a bit of an Emperor's Children vibe. But because they're posh, they're called the Royal Valpone Blue Bloods. Like, yeah. And the Jantine Patricians before them. I mean, it's pretty clear what we're getting, right? But yeah, I think they're very good. They stay around for a bit. They're the bad guys for a while because they're in this sector of space with them.
But I hate them.
Great.
So brilliant.
Great. We do have some questions. We have some questions. I've separated them out into some for this and some for Acropolis because some of them apply for both. So Brian says, how much of a bastard is Rawn, and could you make a bastard scale for the ongoing book reviews?
We have spoken about
bastard scale. Bastards. How are we going to scale this bastard scale? Minutes to midnight. Number of backstabbings.
1 to 40,000.
1 to 40,000. Who would be the most bastardy person so far?
Right. So you and I have had little mini discussions about this. So I'm going to say a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
10 being the most bastardly.
Yeah. Who's the most bastardly?
So 2 of my most bastardlies are, 3 of them are Erebus, Horus, and Lucius. Different sort of bastardly. Lucius is awful scum betrayer as well.
Are they all 10 on the bastard scale?
They're all 10 on my bastard scale.
Okay, so Erebus is 10.
Do you want to know why for each of them? Erebus basically if he hadn't taken Horus into the Snake Temple, maybe things would be different.
Probably would have turned it anyway.
Maybe the Primarchs would be friends.
Horus, clues in the name, did a heresy.
Yeah. Lucius, just what are you doing, like slashing your face all the time and then betraying, like ha ha ha. Evil, evil, you know, in the midst of all the trauma and dying. I didn't need that.
Well,
so that is 10. Now I think at 5, I absolutely love Eisenhorn.
So Eisenhorn's a 5. Horus is a 10.
Here's the thing, because Eisenhorn does get caught up in chaos.
Yeah.
But he does do really good stuff as well, especially in Xenos. I fell in love with Eisenhorn.
So in that case, in this book, as our base Rawn Gaunt's Ghost bastard level, it's called the bastard scale according to Brian. What is Rawn in this book? Where are we starting?
I'm going to give Rawn in Ghostmaker an 8.
An 8?
Rawn
is bastard scale 8 in this book. 2 more would actually heresy.
Okay,
brilliant.
No, wait. No, he should be a 6 then.
He's 6. Is he ever going to get up to...
In this book, because there are some friendship moments...
Yeah, okay.
It's going to be a 6.
6.
So take that
bastard
back.
Scale 6. Bastard scale 6 for Rawn. Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Right, we're going to have to do that every episode now.
Yeah. What about this... what's his name? Not Sturm.
Sturm's bastard level 10.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. They're just absolutely horrible and they don't care about anybody.
No. Yeah. Thomas says, now you've been introduced to most of the ghosts, who do you think will make it and who do you think will die? Let's find this quick. Let's go through my list again.
Yeah.
We can do live or die. Ready. Okay.
Wait,
By the end of this season, this 15, 18 books or however many it is. Right. Korvac.
No, he's not going to die.
Okay, he's not going to live then.
Yeah, he will live.
Rawn.
Sadly, well, hopefully he will die.
McCall.
He will live.
Larkin.
Live.
Bragg.
Dunno.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you did a funny face.
That's just my face.
Somebody did spoil me and write on my YouTube channel who died, and I managed to mute it and completely forget about it instantly.
Great.
I've got a place to lock trauma.
So
Cathran.
Have we done Cathran?
Cathran's not going to die.
Dorden.
I don't want him to, but
He's quite
old.
18 books.
There is reference to Dorden being old a lot. It makes me worry. It makes me, could be pre-planning, could be prepping.
Bryn Milo.
Never going
to die. Right. Magic Milo. Gaunt.
No.
Right. Well, there we are. Bets are in. Thomas, we'll see how that pans out over the next 18 books. And watching Brian, another Brian says, who is your favourite... Right, so I put this here because it says, who are your favourite ghosts? Who is your favourite ghost by Necropolis, which we're about to do. So I'm assuming that means the start of Necropolis. And why is it Try Again Bragg?
Sorry, I think I just did a snotling then. Everybody loves Bragg.
Everyone loves Bragg.
I don't get it at the moment.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think my favourites at the moment are Gaunt and Milo.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay then. All right. Yeah. There we are. Well, there we are. So look, that's Ghostmaker. We've done 2 books into Gaunt's Ghost now. We're going to do Necropolis next.
Yeah.
Which many people consider the first true Gaunt's Ghost novel. And the reason you've had to read 3 books. Because Necropolis is when it gets going.
If I had begun with Acropolis.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone into the series.
And you can see why now.
So how I started is Dan suggested we could talk about Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yeah.
I came to Ian and said, Dan says we can talk about Gaunt's. What's the first book? You said it's these 3. I was like, come on. Went back to Dan and Dan was like, yeah, that would be a good way to start.
Yeah.
But I'm really pleased I did because Necropolis is...
Read the first 3 books. That is a good way to start my 18 book series. My 18 book series.
I bet he was like at home going, 60p, Mira's got 3 of my books. But I just think if anyone is coming in on Acropolis, that is quite the introduction.
It's quite full on, isn't it?
It's, I remember, we can talk about that in the next
It's got
video.
other people and everything that aren't ghosts. Anyway, we'll do that. Look, you can find me at Arbiter on various things and you at
Mira Manga.
You can go and watch in the link below will be the link to your conversation with Dan ABNETT about the first 3 of these books.
Yep.
If you'd like to join in and vote for books, we have a vote currently running to see if we do some spooky horror.
Yeah.
You can vote for that on the Patreon. And otherwise, we'll see you next time with...
We should say books coming up could be...
Oh, yeah. There's a few that... we're going to do Flight of the Eisenstein.
Yep.
And we're also going to do Fulgrim after that.
Yep. And I've got you reading a very old Warhammer fantasy that you might talk about with me. Ignorant
Armies.
Which
we
is
might
from
do
the
that.
80s.
From the actual 80s, yeah. And then we're going to move on with this. We'll do Necropolis next. And then I can't remember what the book after that in Gaunt's Ghost is. It's like The Saint or Straight Silver or Sabbath Martyr or something. But cool. Brilliant. Loads of things to do. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time on Book Club. See you later.
Bye.